All right, welcome everybody to episode number 51 of Sports Cards Live. Before we get into it, I want to thank last Saturday's guest, John Newman of Sports Card Nation and Hobby Hotline, and also Colin Murray, who joined me on After Hours late last Saturday night. Also want to thank this past Wednesday's guest for the anniversary episode number 50 of Sports Cards Live, Jordan Hagedorn, Brett Favre super collector and NFL agent. Those are some awesome episodes last week, guys. Check them out. They all live on the YouTube channel. So, and I know these are all long episodes. Bite them off bit by bit. YouTube will always remember where you left off. This coming Wednesday, Fractional Ownership Company Collectibles CEO Ezra Levine will be joining me. And that's a hot topic. A lot of people want to know how these things work. Be sure to join in to find out. Next Saturday, my guest will be Drew Herndon of the podcast called Let Me Get That Potograph. Drew's a really fun guy. That's going to be a fun episode. I'm really looking forward to it. I do want to welcome all new viewers to the show tonight. If you are visiting us tonight because you are a follower of Jake and you subscribe to his channel or you found out about it through Jake, I want to thank Jake for bringing new viewers to the show, and I welcome you. If you have not yet subscribed, please do. We are just past 1,100 subscribers, and I want to thank everyone who has subscribed so far. Stick around till the end. We will be doing the card of the day and the Sports Cards Live 5. And then tonight at 10:30 p.m. Mountain, 12:30 a.m. Eastern, we will be back live for After Hours. My guest will be none other than Carlos from the hit YouTube series, Because I'm Carlos. All right. Tonight's guest, guys, started collecting at the age of 8 years old when he would get free packs of 95, 96 hoops basketball at the local sporting goods store. A collector all the way through, in 2016, he got more serious with his Penny Hardaway collection, and he was one of the first people to dedicate his YouTube channel to basketball card content. In my mind, he is the go-to guy on the what is what for 90s basketball cards. He's a fan of the Orlando Magic, hailing from Springfield, Massachusetts, which is fitting as it's also the home to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Let's bring him out. He's already there. I never took him out in the first place. Jake Roy, you could have said something, buddy. Welcome to episode 50. It's okay, man. That's on me. That's on me totally. Welcome to Sports Cards Live. I mixed it up a bit different tonight. I had something in front of me. I didn't even know you were there, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for that wonderful intro. Tough act to follow with Jordan. Love that episode. Love all your episodes. So really happy to be part of the group, an illustrious group. So really happy to be here today.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And before we get into the first question tonight, I do want to, I just have to explain what just happened there, because that's pretty funny. So usually I have my notes written out on a piece of cardstock and they sit kind of right in front of me. But tonight I just didn't have time to do it. So I literally put a Word document in front of my Chrome window so I couldn't see anything. And I thought I took you out before and I didn't. So I'm talking, okay, let's bring him out. And there he is. Oh, hey, you're already there. That was fun. That was funny. Okay, let's keep going. So listen, thanks for joining, Jake. It's awesome to have you. You know, this is episode 51. We're starting, we got all the way up the hill to episode number 50, and we're going to start with you going all the way down to episode number 100. So thank you for that. It's great to have you, man. So listen, let's jump right in with the first question. You know, a lot of people are apprehensive right now to spend their money on opening wax at today's prices. They're just maybe perhaps not seeing the value. But why do you think people should spend more of their hobby budget on breaking wax? Can you convince us?
Hopefully, yeah. So I think, we've all seen wax prices go up and up on the secondary market, and it's tough to get it at retail. Obviously, a lot of the wax that I open is 90s stuff that I've amassed over the years. But the reason that I think that, at least for, me, I know that I talk a lot on my channel about ROI of breaking wax, and a lot of times it's not there. But it's not just about opening a pack for $5 and pulling $10 worth of cards out. For me, there's what I call the experience cost of opening a pack of cards. Maybe it's a new product and you're getting a first look at whether it's some of the inserts or parallels or what have you. But also I think about it like in the terms of, if you go to the movies, you're not making money off of going to the movies. You're spending money on entertainment. So it's kind of like some entertainment, in my opinion. And it's so much fun. It's such a thrill to open a pack of cards, no matter how many cards are in there, and you don't know what that next card is. It's kind of, it gives you that little bit of a rush. People talk about it like a lottery ticket, but it's different. Each card could be something special. It could be a new card for your PC, or it could be a card that can get you that new card in your PC. So you never know. It's kind of like Forrest Gump says, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So it's just a thrill. It's great entertainment, and it's just a lot of fun.
Fair enough, man. Like for me personally, I don't break a lot of wax. I just find, like a lot of people do, that I'm better off maybe just buying the singles that I want. I call it kind of sharpshooting. I'm a sharpshooter. I'm a secondary market sharpshooter. But I have to extend a humongous thank you to all the people who do break wax and open up product, because without them, those cards would not make it to the secondary market at all for all of us singles collectors to go find. And I've often wondered, like, should I feel a little bit guilty that I'm not contributing as much as maybe I could or should to the to supplying the secondary market from brand new products? And I'm not sure where I land on that yet. Maybe some people have some ideas. Feel free to let us know what you think of that. But it's something I've certainly considered, and it's nice to know, because we chatted and you said to me, it's one thing that a lot of people aren't doing, but you actually think that it's something that we could be doing, and you call it the experience cost. And I've heard it referred to before as the wax breaking tax. It's the tax that we pay to have that to have the opportunity to have the privilege of opening up this product and seeing what's inside, and that tax can be calculated as what you paid for that box minus what you can get for everything inside of it should you sell it, or what you value everything that comes out of it as. That's the tax you're paying. But there are going to be cases, like you said, where you're going to get something you really like, or you're going to get something worth more than what you paid for the box, and now it's like a negative tax. You're actually, now you're positive ROI. So
yeah, interesting
stuff. I'd like to hear some other people's takes on that. Again, obviously people are opening the stuff because cards are hitting the secondary market. But at today's prices, especially with basketball, these boxes are coming out of the gate at, instead of being $125, they're $725. What do you think of that? What do you think of these new prices that we're seeing over the last year or two?
Yeah, I mean, the prices are getting to a point where at times, even for me, it gets hard for me to justify breaking some of it, at least on the secondary market. I see a blaster box, and I'm not going to name any specific sets, but let's say this blaster box goes for $20, and on the secondary market they're selling for 60, 70, $80. A lot of times that's a tough pill to swallow, because when you rip it, is it $80 worth of entertainment even? That's a lot of entertainment. That's a lot of movies. So I try to put it in that context, and it's sometimes tough for me to, but at times I have that itch. I'm kind of, I think we've got some people in the hobby that call me a degenerate pack ripper, which, I'll wear that badge. So sometimes I get that itch and I just want to open some packs. I know sometimes they go to like Fairfield packs, which are definitely not the greatest products, but they're fun.
Well, there's no doubt that opening products is fun. And it really comes down to the Forrest Gump thing. You just don't know what you're going to get till you get there. And really, I've broken boxes where you don't get a card until the very last pack that you care about, or that you feel is worth something. So you kind of got to get through it. And if you get lucky, it's a great feeling. And if you don't, I've left the LCS before, like, years ago, after, opening several packs of, say, Upper Decks the Cup, which, $300, $400, $500 a pack at the time, and feeling like I didn't get much value for it. And it's not a great feeling, but at the same time, I've had some pretty sweet hits as well over the years where, from the Cup and other products, where I'm feeling pretty good about it. So it's really just luck of the draw. Yeah. But I do think, if you open up enough products, I think over time you're going to get some stuff that's worth some money. That's for sure. And even more importantly, if you're a collector, you're going to get some cards that you just love owning. So
absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes they're kind of like a little nostalgic memory that you can kind of remember an experience, almost like a nice bottle of wine, or, some of those other things that we enjoy with friends. That experience sometimes that card is a reminder of.
And people are doing that now. They're creating nostalgia today with group breaks, and but not just group breaks with personalities, people that you like that are hosting them. Right there, we're creating memories. These people you're being involved. You're creating these memories, and then down the road, you're going to remember. Oh, I remember breaking 2020 Prism in so and so's breaker room, and and these guys and that guy were in there. That's kind of fun, right? It's like I like to say, these eventually we're in the good old days, right? These are the good old days, but we just don't know it yet. So you want to really savor every moment, and that's just a good way to approach life. All right, man. Now we got through the opening jump ball question for the day. Let's welcome the viewers we have. Say hello to some people, see what comments we got. Maybe we got some feedback on that on this topic right off the bat. I want to welcome Paul Cashman, as always. Mike from Absolute, great to see you. I like this one. I've never seen you before. Latrell Sprewell is the American dream. Welcome, Latrell Sprewell, to the show. And I love 90s Bball Cards channel myself. One of the first I came across. Dave Jones, welcome to the show. Frankie, welcome. What's up, guys? It's great to see you here, Frankie. Great to see you here. Brett Miles, good evening to you. Happy to have you, and please chat away. Terry, good evening to you. Mike says, look at Jeremy and the overlays. Overlays gone wild. Yeah, I'm trying to soup it up a little bit in here, guys. And even though I kind of stumbled a bit to get started today, we'll work through it here. Simon, my two favorite hobby content channels together. Love it. Wow, that's an awesome compliment. Thank you so much, Simon, and welcome to you. Carlos is making fun of me. Best intro ever. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I tripped over myself, but that's okay. Name, welcome to the show. Mike, what an intro. The Michael Buffer of SCL. Again, I want to introduce my guest. It makes it more fun for me. It makes it more fun for you. Hopefully you like the intro, Jake. Did you?
I loved it. I appreciate it.
Good. Hey, we're getting comments from the viewers, so obviously they liked it too, or they're just feeling sorry for me for tripping over myself. Mike says, wine. Jake, what vintage are we having tonight? What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, let me see. I should have known. 2016, I believe. It's a 2016. It's a French wine. It's a new one for me. I'm really enjoying it, and it'll be a memory now. Every time I have that wine,
I'll remember this. There you go. Matt 14, sophisticated, sipping wine and talking cards. Nothing like it. Nothing like. We bought two. Good evening, all. I predict a bloopers overlay in the near future. I've had a couple thoughts like that. I really have. Absolutely. I don't feel sophisticated enough for this show anymore. Here we go. Michael Webb says, I'd rather buy the singles I want. And I think a lot of people do feel that way. By the way, welcome to the show, Michael. That makes sense. And Jake, you obviously buy singles. Like, we all buy singles. If you're in the hobby, you're buying singles. You're probably not just cracking wax, right? So Simon says, props to all the degenerate pack rippers out there. If the pap flippers didn't triple the price of a box, yeah, that's can be a bit of an issue when that happens. Steve, welcome to the show. Jordan, welcome to the show. Nice to have you here on a Saturday. Frankie says, I'll rip a box of Upper Deck Retro 11 times out of 10. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Some products, even I, who doesn't rip a lot of wax, will buy it and rip it if I can find it. Like, certain products just speak to you as a collector, right? Is there something for you, Jake, that if you see it, you're like, oh, I got to buy it?
Yeah. UD Slam 2000-2001. Not the best known product, but something I can't get enough of. So if I see those packs, it's hard for me to say no.
Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Mike says, Simon says, props to use degenerates to rip or not to rip. That is the question for sure. Michael says, Panini is hurting the hobby, I think, with all the parallels. That's another topic for another day, really. But I do hockey mostly, Michael, and I do basketball as well, but hockey for the most part. And I've been digging the parallels lately. Not every one, but the ones that I look at and I can't really take my eyes off them, it's like, that's a nice card. Sometimes you got to have it. Simon says, I come and go with opening boxes simply due to box prices. I only have a certain budget to spend, so for the most part, I buy singles. That way I can get what I want at the prices I want. Yep, sharpshooting, that's what I call it. Colin Murray, welcome back to the show. Michael agrees. Chris Kent, welcome to the show. Great to have you. Anonymous Facebook user. Again, if I can't see your name and you're on Facebook, look at the ticker right now. I'm putting it on there. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Click the big blue button. You only ever have to do that once. And then StreamYard will be able to recognize your name on Facebook. So please do go ahead and do that. Michael Webb, I've been waiting for this episode. Well, hey, man, so have I. So again, great to have you. Ernie, welcome to the show. Jeff, great to have you as always. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Here we go. Billy says, any insight on Luka Doncic or someone using his name allegedly selling autographs to his personal website? Beckett is turning away the autographs as being forgeries. Nothing I'm aware of. Doesn't look like Jake's aware of that either, but I'm sure you can do some searches and find some people talking about it. Michael Webb, Jake is a good guest for the show. Thank you. Littrell says, do you think 97 PMG green cards out of 10 will continue to hold their value over time? Also, does condition matter to you on those cards? So, it's a great question. I love the second part of that question the most is, does condition matter to you on those cards? Jake, why don't you speak to this?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of holding their value, I think that's anyone's guess. But those, I think, with the PMG Green, which was the first live stream I ever did for that Jordan, I think that has its place in history at this point. And that set is it's one of those that I think has established itself amongst collectors across all genres, whether it's different sports or different eras. That I think that those are pretty strong holds. And I know that I'm personally not as big of a fan as a lot of people on PMGs, just because I like the stuff that was nostalgic from when I was a kid, and you never saw those, so I never even really knew what to look for unless I had pulled one out of a pack, which I never did. But in terms of condition, I don't think condition matters too much on those cards. In hindsight, I had an opportunity to buy a Terrell Brandon red. This is probably 3 years ago for $50. And it had a pretty significant chip on the top, had a little bit of surface damage. In hindsight, looking at the pictures of that again, I probably should have pulled the trigger, without even hesitating, because it's just so common. Condition on those is really subjective. If you get a 6, that's about average. So I don't think condition matters. Obviously, if you're getting like a 2 or a 3, maybe that's going to take away a little bit. But that one that we saw for the Jordan was just authenticated, didn't even have a numeric grade. So.
Yeah,
that's kind of my feeling.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jake. And I agree. I agree with you. I think that the value of the PMG greens and the reds, for that matter, the 97s, whether it's basketball or football too, I don't see their value coming down anytime soon. Those cards have been strong since they were released, and they've only ever gotten stronger. So I'm a believer in them. As for the second part of the question, does condition matter to you on those cards? That's a really good question. I spoke about this on an episode not too long ago, and it ties into the PMG green that was purchased about a year and a half ago. I believe it was a PWCC eBay auction. It was purchased by Nat Turner, who showed it on Instagram, so no secrets there. And he was interviewed by Josh on Cardboard Chronicles, and he basically, he said, like, I just want the card. There's only 10 of them. I have to own one copy. I know it's authentic. If somebody, and he said, I can't see anything wrong with this. So to me, it's a fine card. It's non-altered. But I'm with you, Jake. Some cards, you just have to own them. It doesn't matter what the condition is. And I also think that, if let's say a PMG green Michael Jordan comes along again. We know we just saw 4 of them all graded at the same time. Pretend that didn't happen. And let's say one comes to market and it's graded at PSA 5. Okay. And then let's say in a completely independent auction without that 5 ever selling, there was a PSA 7 that sold, that was listed for sale. I could see the 5 and the 7 selling for the exact same price right now, because you're never going to see them. And the people that want them will spend whatever it takes to get them. And the grade is pretty much secondary. That's my thoughts on that. Sometimes you just want to own the card, right?
Yep.
All right. Steve says hi to Jake. Dominic, good evening. Great show again for sure. Thank you so much. Mike says, hey, all, hit the thumbs up and like this video. If you like the overlays, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you calling everyone out for that. And thanks everyone who does like and subscribe and all those things. I greatly do appreciate it. Canner collects. Better video hockey my way or come fly with me. Don't know what you're getting out there, but thank you for the comment. Much appreciated. Happy Saturday to you, Jordan. Mike says, do you see the PSA tweet with those Jordan greens? Yes, just mentioned that. And yes, we did. That is a sight to beholden for sure. Frankie says, no, condition does not matter on the PMG greens. They are the mythical beast of the hobby. Greatly agree. How limited are the PMGs? They are not numbered, are they? They are numbered, Mike. They are numbered to 100, but the greens are the first 10 and the reds are 11 through 100. So it's 10 greens, 90 reds. From the 97 basketball. Football had slightly different numbering. I believe the greens were out of 15 and the reds were from 16 through 150. So you have 15 and 135 for those. Awesome. Frankie said, oh, here we go. We're getting all the explanations. How limited are they? Yep, same thing. All right. Thanks everybody for jumping in there. Name says, I mostly shop the secondary. Jump in.
I'm sorry. I just want to jump in real quickly. To the question that I just saw, if are they numbered? If you see one that doesn't have a number on them, which I have seen pop up, those might be faked or they could be backdoor copies. Be weary if you see a copy without a serial number on it. They all should have a serial number on them.
Great advice. And that's one of the reasons why Jake is on the show, because he knows what's going on when it comes to 90s basketball cards. And when I say that, and let's just talk about this now, because it's not like Jake can look at a picture on a screen and tell you for sure if a card is a counterfeit or not. That's not what I mean when I say he's the go-to guy on the what is what with 90s basketball cards. What I mean is he knows pretty much every insert set that was ever made. He can, I don't know for sure, but he'll know whether or not certain guys are in these sets. He'll know like numbering. He'll know what the parallels are of each thing. Like the guy knows his 90s basketball cards. So a great resource. And again, check out his channel. He talks about these things all the time on there. Is that fair, Jake? Anything to add to that?
That's fair. And if I don't know it off the top of my head, I know where I can find the information for you.
Oh, so there's someone who knows more than you do out there. Of course.
If not a person, there's always the Beckett, right?
There you go. We have references for sure. Let's keep running through the comments here, guys. So Name says, I mostly shop the secondary market for the singles I want, but I do open packs from time to time and will definitely not turn down wax as a gift, right? Who would? Well, Name, welcome to the show as always. Simon says, I always preferred the metal PMG championship cards a lot more than the PMG reds and green. I've heard people say that quite a bit. I think they're both but the greens and the reds to me, like, because those colors are so bold and shiny and bright, they pop. It's like, is that a card? What is that? I think they're just so cool. I personally do. Anyway, BY, welcome back to the show. Brom says, some of the nicest cards I've seen were the Flair Showcase cards. Thoughts on that? Jake, can you speak to the Flair Showcase cards?
Oh yeah, I absolutely adore the Flair Showcase set. When I started my channel, one of the things that it was my top priority to get was 97, 98 Flair Showcase for some of the memories, but also those cards they're elegant. It's like if you could think of like a nice black tie dinner, I'd want to take that card with me there.
Yeah, that's really well put, Jake. They're classy looking cards, aren't they? With the nice script, the thin script, the nice foil colors that they have on the different rows and that sort of thing. Really cool looking cards. Michael Webb, welcome back. Says, as a Michael Jordan collector, do you think his Wizards cards will ever rise in value? Jake.
Yeah, so we're getting a little bit out of the 90s there, but I don't think that his Wizards cards are as sought after or collectible as the Bulls cards, just because, his tenure there was not as storied. He didn't make it to championship. And it's kind of one of those, almost like seeing the twilight years of a player's career. I like some of his. I know there's some refractors and some Beam Team cards of him in his Wizards uniform that are really cool, but it feels like I'm just kind of looking at, dreams of what could have been type of thing. If you went back to the Bulls.
Yeah, I agree. I'm personally a relatively new collector of Michael Jordan cards, i.e. for the last maybe 2 years or so. And as someone who's new and coming in, I might somewhat represent some of the newer people that are in that genre of the hobby. And for me, I am not interested in those cards. For me, I don't remember him with the Wizards. I certainly remember him with the Bulls. I mean, I remember him playing for them, but those aren't great memories. Playing for the Bulls and going up against the Pistons and then the Trailblazers and all these teams back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's what I remember, though. That obviously those were his heyday years. So because a guy like me isn't about to go buy any Wizards cards, I have to think some other people won't as well, which will mean that they may maintain their value, but I don't think that they're going to do what the Bulls cards have done.
Yeah. And one of the things that I always think of too, if I'm trying to put it into context that make it simple, I watched both his last shot as a Wizard and his last shot as a Bull. And for 99% of the people, which one, if you watch both, do you remember? His last shot with a Wizard was a free throw against the Sixers. It was nothing special. But that Bulls last shot, that was a special shot.
Sounds good. Okay, man. Alex wants to know, which was the last year MJ signed cards for Upper Deck? Signed cards for Upper Deck? Because he's an exclusive. He has an exclusive with Upper Deck. He's a spokesman for them. So he still signs for them. Does he still sign cards or just memorabilia?
I believe he still signs cards. I think last year in the Goodwin Championship, there was some autographs of Jordan. I'm not positive if they were on card or sticker. I know that the Fleer Haynes cards, they're under the Upper Deck license because they have the Fleer IP. Those were all sticker autos. I have never seen one of those surface. There's supposed to be 10 of those. So I know he still signs cards for Upper Deck, but I don't know if they're on card or sticker, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, and Frankie just jumped in and said he does still sign. You can get his Upper Deck Autos and Goodwin set. Not the best set in my opinion, but that's a set that has a whole bunch of different things in it. It's an art-driven sort of set, and I know I've had on the brand manager at Upper Deck who really works on that set. He came on Tony Sirianni with me about a month or so ago and spoke to that set, and I've opened boxes of that here and there, and it's actually a really fun rip as far as, because you really don't know, never mind not knowing what player you're gonna get, you don't know what sport you're gonna get, you don't know what non-sport person you're gonna get, and some of the memorabilia, or maybe not memorabilia, but the relic pieces that they put in there are just off the wall, like pieces of spaceships and real historical items, Greek coins, that kind of thing. You can get some really interesting things out of that product itself. Is a LP hockey cards also is a base Jordan worth anything? That's not a really specific enough question. I don't know. I know some base. I mean, the first year exquisite base Jordan, I saw one sell for $8,000 not too long ago. Jake, what can you tell us generally speaking about base Jordan cards?
Yeah, I mean, in a general sense, yeah, everything's worth something, right? It depends on how much you're looking at. I know that a lot of times when people are asking me, is this worth anything? They're asking if it's worth a significant amount or if it's worthy of putting on eBay. And it really depends on the card. If you've got a 91, 92 Upper Deck base card of Jordan, it's about a $5 card here or there. If it's raw, if it's a PSA 10, it's worth more. But if you're looking at Ultimate Collection, which was in the beginning of the 2000s, if you're looking at a lot of those higher end sets, those base cards are worth significantly more, and then everything in between. So yeah, base cards are always worth something. But those, for example, the Flair Showcase set that we were talking about, for years since the set had come out, that Jordan base card was a $10 card. Recently, we saw it jump up to $30, $40, $50, and it started settling back down to about 20. So, that's a really great looking set, and that's a base card that's worth something, but it's not hundreds of dollars.
All right, let's keep on going. Francisco wants to know, Jake, what's your favorite 90s insert set?
So if we're talking about design, I've got two that it's kind of a tie. So the one that I bounce between, and I've got a Jordan and a penny here. So first we've got 1997 SPX HoloView Heroes. So not the rarest, but I love the fact that these all have that die cut and the hologram. And then this, as opposed to the rest of the set is all on the horizontal plane. This is the one card or the one set that's vertical. So I love that because I think vertical cards just present better. And the other one is 97, 98 Fleer Ultra. We got the Star Power Supreme. So we got the acetate, we got some hollow foil, all kinds of stuff, and some die cut there.
That's one of my favorites too. When I got into collecting, 90s basketball cards about 2.5 years ago or so, I identified that card right away, and I quickly found that there were 3 parallels for it. So I actually picked up the Michael Jordan Star Power Plus, and then I took it to the National with me last year, and I thought, I'm going to look for the Supreme because it's a much nicer card than the Plus. That one you just showed, much nicer than the Plus, which is much nicer than the regular. So I took it with me thinking, I'll use it to trade towards the Supreme. I couldn't find one in the whole room. I looked everywhere in the National for a Star Power Supreme Michael Jordan, and I could not find a single one in the room. So I believe they are truly rare, and I have the Plus, which I'm going to keep probably for as long as I need to until I can maybe one day find the Supreme, which those prices are just through the roof now anyway. So I might just have to be happy with my Star Power Plus and that. Here's another.
One day you'll get it.
What's that?
One day you'll get it.
One day, hopefully. I mean, there's a few cards I might like more, but maybe not actually, because a PMG Red, let's say, which there's one coming up for auction soon. I mean, I think that's going to be well outside of my means. So maybe the Star Power Supreme is the one for me if I'm going to go for a big one. Okay, let's keep going. Another similar question. This one's for you again, Jake. Latrell wants to know your top 3 favorite 90s basketball 1-of-1 cards. His are the 98 Gem Masters, the Apex 101, and any of the Flair Showcase masterpieces. How do you feel about this, Jake?
Yeah, so I don't pay a lot of attention to one of ones just because they're so hard to find and they're pretty unattainable. But you hit on some of my favorites there. I think the Apex one of ones are gorgeous. I think that when that set came out, it was definitely something that got overlooked. I would definitely say the Flare Showcase Masterpieces, just because Flare Showcase is incredible. And the other one that I think is pretty cool is, especially in the 98-99 set, is the Masterpieces for Ultra, because they have that purple foil all over it. I know Grant had a Scottie Pippen, and those just, they pop, having all purple all over it. I know 97, 98, they look a lot like the platinum medallion, so they don't pop as much until you look at the back. But that 98, 99 is really cool.
You just mentioned Grant. Can you just tell the viewers who Grant is and where they might be able to see what cards he has in his collection?
Yeah, for sure. Grant Slayton, absolutely incredible collector of, a lot of rare 90s stuff. He's probably one of the bigger PMG collectors outside of Nat Turner. So I believe his Instagram handle is Waldorf Cards, and that's, where you can see a lot of his collection. He's always showing some incredible finds.
Yeah, I believe I follow him as well on Instagram, and I do concur. Really, some major head turners shown in that account. Waldorf Cards, is that what it is at
I
Waldorf
think
Cards?
I think so. I think it's at Waldorf Cards. I could be wrong.
Waldorf Stories rings a bell to me too for some
Waldorf
reason.
Stories. I think that's right.
Waldorf. Okay, so anyway, if you want to search out this guy on Instagram, just search for WALDORF, and I'm sure he'll come up as a card account. So check out Grand stuff, impressive for sure. Michael Webb says, Jake, your Penny Hardaway collection, do you try to collect them all or just the ones you like?
So I'm a completionist at heart. I would love to have a copy of every single Penny card, NBA card, with him as a Magic player. Let me be a little bit specific to hone in, but I think that there are some that are just going to be very difficult for me to obtain, at least anytime in the relative future. So, we'll see what happens, as we're looking 10, 20 years out. But yeah, I'm trying to collect as many as humanly possible.
As many different copies. We'll get into doubles
Yeah.
a little bit later in the show, talking about when that happens to serious collectors like ourselves and all of you out there. Okay, let's just roll through this one here. Simon says serial number Jordan base can be worth a good amount, and the base PMG, and of course his early Fleer cards. Yes, of course the early Fleer cards. And I like that you mentioned, Simon, the base PMG, or just really the base Metal Universe cards. They're beautiful, and it's art. You can make the argument that base Fleer Metal Universe card, the one that the base of the green and the reds, is nicer than the green and the reds, because you got that same design, but they're super colorful. They're absolutely stunning to look at. I have one of those in my collection, sort of as a placeholder, if you will, but it doesn't need to be a placeholder. It's just a beautiful card as far as a base card goes. And there's a lot of talk lately about the base card bonanza. People are going crazy for base cards. Some base cards are gorgeous. They are a little bit rarer than other base cards, and they can be worthy of a collection. So while I understand a lot of people kind of looking down on base cards in general, some I think are certainly worthwhile to have in personal collections. Do you have anything to say to that, Jake?
Yeah, well, so one thing that I love about the Jordan PMG, or the Jordan Fleer Metal, is that design is the mirror, if you will, of the Penny Hardaway. So Arena Designs, the people who designed those cards, shared on Josh Cardboard Chronicles channel when they did an interview that they had each player, the design that had the background, they had two players that had that same design. So Jordan and Penny share the same design. So if you like the Jordan, but it's a little bit out of your price range, look for the Penny.
Yeah, I noticed that there was just a Penny that sold not too long. It was a PMG red that just sold on, I believe it was the red one, in the last week or two. And I had that on my watch list. I was looking at it, and it's like, you want the card because of what it is, but I don't collect the player. I'm not a Penny fan. Nothing against him. He's just, I'm not a Penny fan. So it's like, I'd rather keep that money, because it was substantial money, and put it towards players that I enjoy more. But yeah, I hear you. Latrell confirms it's Waldorf Stories on Instagram to follow this account that we were talking about. And Alex says to Jake, which are the best Michael Jordan cards that you've pack pulled?
So I think probably the best one, there's two actually. So one of them was the first episode I ever did on my channel. I opened a box of 98.99 tops, and I pulled the Round Ball Royalty Refractor. I actually gave that to my brother because he helped me get that channel started, and he did a lot of the background work for me. And he's a Jordan collector, so he has that. It's kind of something that he'll never sell, so it's you could say it's both of ours, but it's in his collection. And then the other one I actually have here with me is the 2009-2010 SP Game Used dual jersey of Jordan and LeBron. This one's numbered to 499. So this is one I pulled when I was in college, and I was just dumbstruck when I got that. I couldn't believe I was holding it. So
right on. Right on. All right, let's go to another comment from Frankie here, and then we're going to switch topics. So he says, had Penny not gotten injured, he was going to be one of the best guards in the history of the league. Yeah, right. I mean, there's so many stories like that in sports about careers just cut a little bit short, and who knows what could have come of that. Okay, guys, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. I want to talk to Jake and sort of find out, and for us all to hear. As I said in the intro, he's one of the first guys to dedicate his YouTube channel to basketball cards. So I want to get into, Jake, sort of what started you off on YouTube, and why did you decide to go exclusively on basketball cards?
Yeah, so it was kind of a culmination of a lot of things at the right moment in time, so to speak. So some of the things that were factoring. So I was watching a lot of Gary Vee content. He talked about kind of creating just content in general, whatever is the best medium for people. So I was thinking about what is something I could create content around. And then at the same time, I was also starting to take, as we talked about in the intro, my Penny collection a little bit more seriously. I was getting involved in Facebook groups, first a Penny group, then a 90s group, and then, started getting into more groups and such. And I was seeing a lot of people either coming back in or that were getting interested in 90s stuff that had a lot of questions. And it seemed like there were a lot of the same questions that were getting asked week after week, day after day, that I knew the answers to. I was trying to help people out, answer those questions. But after a while, answering the same question 5, 10, 15 times, I was thinking there's got to be a better way. So I was, again, with that kind of Gary Vee in my head and my knowledge of basketball cards, I said, let's put out a YouTube channel. I think the cards lend themselves well to video rather than voice. So I said, let's put out a YouTube channel and talk about this stuff, answer some of these questions. And then it also kind of gives me an excuse to rip packs, which is something I love to do as well. So really kind of trying to fit that need that I saw people, asking a lot of those questions. That, and then why basketball it was my favorite sport. I played basketball and football growing up, but basketball was, just my love. I was built probably more for football, but can't knock the passion for basketball.
For sure. It's funny. You mentioned Gary Vee. He's obviously a polarizing figure in this hobby right now. But what I like about him, I just, one of the things I like about Gary is that he's inspired a lot of content creators, yourself, Dustin from the Personal Finance Dad channel, who was my guest a couple of weeks ago, same thing. So without Gary, recommending to people to get out there, put out content, and just don't worry about it. Just put it out. You'll get better as time goes on. That kind of attitude. People have taken him up on that advice, and because of it, I think the hobby's a better place in terms of we have guys out there who are veteran collectors, lifelong collectors. They got the collector gene, just like you, me, Dustin, and here we are producing content, having fun, entertaining viewers and all that sort of thing. So, that's one thing that Gary did right, if you will. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong by that, but that's one thing he's done right was inspiring people to get out there and produce content for the hobby. So glad that you did that. Glad that Dustin did that. That's all good stuff. So, from your perspective, Jake, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of more people coming into the hobby late, like now versus a year ago? Obviously, we all talk about it, but what are you seeing? How is that? I want to really want to get this question across to you, but how are you seeing this new boom in the hobby from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot more people get interested. A lot of eyebrows get raised when you see a card on the news that sells for $1.8 million. It was reported on my local news channel, as well as a lot of other news channels across the nation, and across the globe. So, I got hit up by a lot of friends that I've known that either, may have been collecting as kids or, got out of it, or people who were just sports fans or what have you. I've seen a lot more interest, even if some of those people that hit me up have no interest in getting cards in their own right. It piques their interest to look into what's going on, and maybe down the road they will buy a pack or grab a card or something like that. But I'm definitely seeing a lot of new people. I get DM'd, very regularly. People saying, "Hey, I'm new to the hobby," asking for advice, just saying they enjoy the content and it's helping them. So it seems like every day there's new people coming in, which is really exciting. And who knows how big the hobby can get, but it seems like it's not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah. The next thing I want to ask you about is kind of, these people that are coming into the hobby and they might not know where to go. And if they're interested in 90s basketball cards, if that's your expertise, I want to know what you would say to those people. So think about that for 1 second. We're going to come back to it. A couple comments I want to address before we do that. So Matt says, have you ever reached out to try and get Gary V on Sports Cards Live? Truth be told, I have, but I don't think he's read my messages. I'm sure they just got buried in his inbox. Jay Briggs, hello, Jeremy. How was your day? Hey, thanks, Jay. My day was good. Got a little bit away from me, but it was good. I hope you had a great day too. Urban Tunes Music, welcome to the show, and thank you so much. Simon says, we need more hobby content creators like Jake. He has passion and sticks to it and is very knowledgeable and a true collector. Love it. Keep up the good work, mate. There you go, Simon.
Thank
Jake, that's really nice comment there, Simon. And when you have knowledgeable collectors and true collectors producing content, that's where I gravitate my time to. That's why I know Jake. That's why I reached out to Jake, because I've been watching his videos for quite some time, and I agree with you, Simon. Love it. Keep up the good work, Jake. Keep it up, man. You're doing a great job with your video. And I will say that Jake, he introduces his videos as the most passionate basketball card content on YouTube, if not the whole internet. And I gotta say it's true, because you can tell the love and passion you put into your videos, Jake. So do keep it up for sure. Paul says, I think content is a big difference between now and the 80s, 90s boom. I agree with that. Content and access to information, not, all information, sold listings, comps, all that. There's so much more information now, and even access to the players in the hobby. It's much different now than it was back then. Bromf says, enjoying the show, guys. With basketball so hot, any love for those early mass-produced 90s base rookies like Dave Robinson, Sean Kemp, Shaq, Alonzo? What can you tell us about how the hobby right now, Jake, is responding to those early 90s cards that were mass-produced?
Yeah, so I think that some of those cards we saw a bit of an uptick. I think some of it was because some influencers or some content creators, whatever you call it, people that have a prominent footprint in the hobby were sharing some of them. So people started kind of being more aware of those. But I mean, that David Robinson is just a really cool card that everybody who collected in the the 80s and 90s recognizes. It was short printed compared to cards at the time, but we know there's plenty of those. There's no shortage of them. Shaq's got some great ones. I mean, that 92, 93 Upper Deck base is probably his most iconic, not his most valuable necessarily. I love Sean Kemp's Fleer rookie, incredible picture. So there's stuff to love about all those cards. Some of it's memory, some of it's just the aesthetics of them. There's so much to love about a lot of those great guys.
And we're seeing a run on a lot of cards like that, like right back to the Ken Griffey Jr. 89 Upper Deck rookie card, the first Upper Deck card ever made, sort of thing. I love the Shaq rookie. That's the triple exposure where he's going in for the I think it's probably a dunk of some sort, right? That's and I love the David Robinson card too. I mean, that card came out, and then the second Robinson came out in series 2 of Hoops, and that made the first one even more important because there was now something that wasn't as important, let's say. So, and I also agree with you on that Sean Kemp card, because that was the first year of Fleer that I think was really mass produced. And that card with the yellow border, I can picture it in my head, in my mind right now. that was an awesome card. So yeah, great stuff. Simon says Shaq rookie cards are booming at the moment. Yes, they certainly are. I've been watching those myself. I collect Shaq sort of a little bit along with MJ. So I do keep my eyes on his cards. Evening to you, Joe. Great to have you as always. Jay, glad to hear you had a good day. That's always good to hear. Michael says that the 90s say Jordan was the best. This generation says LeBron is. Whose cards will be most desired in the years to come? I mean, there's the $1 million question right there that everybody wants to know. It's one of those things, Jake. Everyone's got their own opinion, and no one can say for sure because we can't see the future. But take a stab at it.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult. I think Adam, touched on a little bit. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges because the cards in those two eras are so different. I mean, there are no, RPAs of Jordan. There never will be. LeBron's got a few of them, So, comparing rookies is not something that you can compare. There's never going to be another PMG green to compare for LeBron. There are some things you can try to draw correlations. So I don't think that you can really compare them side by side. I think both of them, if I pull a card of Jordan or a card of LeBron from a pack, I'm holding on to both of them. If I pull a card of both of them, like the jersey card I showed, I'm holding that for sure. If I'm going to talk about the cards that I want in my collection, it's going to be the Jordan because I have more, fond memories and nostalgia. But, my wife is a Lakers fan. She loves that LeBron's on the Lakers and they're in the finals right now. So, it's fun that I can probably hold on to a card that she's going to have some sort of enjoyment of as well. So, I hate to say it's a tie, but I think it's a tie for most people in the hobby. For myself, I would just go to the 90s because that's what I love.
Yeah, man.
How about you?
It's such a tough question. I think that Michael Jordan is just more overall worldwide on a global scale, more legendary, more iconic than LeBron James. Take nothing away from LeBron James. I think where LeBron James outshines Michael Jordan is in his really his personality and what he does outside the game. He's in a tough spot just in terms of politics and other issues in the world right now. But what I love about LeBron James is what he did with his school that he's funded and putting all these people from Akron, Ohio through, basically getting them their education and really a substantive impact on people's lives, like immeasurable beyond words. What the influence and the change he has made to people's lives. I think he's a true hero, LeBron James. Michael Jordan was a true hero on the court. He was the most competitive athlete I think we've ever seen, and a winner and a champion. And he didn't put up with anything less than 100% from his teammate. We saw that in the Last Dance documentary. Shed a lot of light on him for a lot of people. But I think that Michael Jordan is the bigger name worldwide. But as far as value of cards go in the long run, I'm going to take the unpopular opinion and say it's a tie because I can't pick one athlete that I think is better or more important to culture, to pop culture. And that's what drives a lot of value in the hobby is culture, right? And, being out there. So, LeBron has it in terms of what he does off the court. MJ had it on the court. A lot of people would argue that LeBron has it in both of those criteria. But anyway, let's keep going. It's a tough one, right, Jake? That's just a tough thing to address. Simon says that high-grade Shaq rookies are still on fire. Beam Team Topps Gold. Yep, for sure. Joe, I've been dipping into early 90s Upper Deck Kobe hardcourt MVP. Low-end game use, aesthetically pleasing. Aesthetically pleasing is the key there, right? Because if you find it aesthetically pleasing, that ties into collect what you like. That's the hobby mantra, at least it should be. Simon says, if you think you have collected Jordan and LeBron, you will be fine. Yeah, I think if you've collected Jordan and LeBron, you'll be fine in the future. I definitely agree with that. Billy says, MJ is the GOAT of the NBA. LeBron will spend the rest of his life trying to be the GOAT. Maybe it will work for him in China. It's a strong comment. I mean, I know you're going to get a lot of people are going to disagree, maybe take offense to that. And that's one man's opinion. And that's what it is. We'll keep going. Simon, Jeremy, I don't think what either player has done off the court should be a factor in GOAT debate or card values. Okay, I agree in terms of GOAT debate, but I completely disagree with you, Simon, in terms of card values. Card values are not only driven by what someone does on the court, on the ice, on the field. And I know, for better or for worse, it just isn't. And if you don't think that, well, you have that right not to think it, but that's just not reality, unfortunately. So, but still, great comment, Simon. Greatly appreciated. Those are my thoughts on that. So back to what I wanted to get to earlier with you, Jake. Somebody new is going to come into the hobby and they've already decided that 90s inserts, for example, are something that they want to focus on. What do you say? What do you say to them? How do you coach them on entering in? Where do you point them? What do you point them to?
Yeah, so my first recommendation is go out and look, do some window shopping, if you will. Look at stuff that's been listed on eBay, look at content. There's a lot of it out there. Go and look and see what catches your eye. A lot of times people will ask me, what should I buy? What should I look at? And I'll kind of take them down the road of, okay, well, what do you like? If you collect, let's say, modern basketball cards, what are the sets that you like the best? What do you like about those sets? Okay, if you like Prism, what do you like about Prism? Is it that they're shiny and you can get parallels and stuff like that? That takes you down the path of Topps Finest and Topps Chrome. If you like the photography, maybe there's a different set that you like, and that takes you down a different path. So I'll figure out what they like currently about whatever it is that they may collect. And if they don't collect it all, I say go and immerse yourself to see what's out there before you buy a card. In years past, I would say go buy some packs. But as we talked about at the beginning, that gets a little bit cost prohibitive now. So it's, pretty difficult to go and buy packs and not already have a significant investment in the hobby, and you might have really nothing to show for it. And that might turn off a new collector. So go and look, do some window shopping. It's just like if you're going to go buy a car, you're not going to sit on a lot for 5 minutes and say, ooh, that one, what's the price, and fork it over. You're going to do some research. You're going to go test drive some cars. So it's kind of the same approach that I would have somebody who's new take.
That's really the best advice right there, right, Jake? I mean, you have to do your due diligence. You have to at least dip your feet into understanding what's out there. What are your options? Because there are so many. As Frankie points out right here, he says 90s collecting has so many entry points. It's incredibly fun to get into it. So I agree. It's incredibly fun to get into it. However, you still need to pick kind of what you think is, first of all, what do you like? And also, among what you like, what is important to the hobby as overall? And maybe you need to research what the hobby deems to be important, because, when you're spending money on cards, you're wearing half a hat of collector, you're maybe wearing half a hat of investor. You're thinking about both. Anytime you're putting out big money into a card, you kind of want to make sure you're buying something that you think you will, at least if you need to, be able to get out of it for an amount that is not much less than what you paid for it. So, it's important to understand what you like. It's also important to understand what the hobby in general considers important. So I'll tell a quick story on that, Jake, because it's right on point. Is when I first got into 90s basketball cards, I consider myself a veteran collector, so I kind of knew what to do. And what that entailed for me was I seeked out where I thought the most knowledgeable basketball people were. And that at the time happened to be Blowout forums. And I went to Blowout forums and I posted a thread. And I basically said, what are the most important, something like, what are the 20 most important Michael Jordan inserts from the 1990s between, $1 and $100, whatever that range was. And I posed the question and I got all sorts of answers, and I got all sorts of top 20 lists from people that I didn't know. And I then took those lists and I Google searched what are the most important inserts of the 90s or most important Jordan cards of the 90s. And I got a couple of lists there, and then I cross-referenced them. I built a spreadsheet and I saw which ones showed up the most. And then I went and I looked at these cards and I looked at them. Do I like this card? If I like it, well, I'm going to, and it's on, 4 of the 5 lists, that tells me that's a target of mine. If I don't like it, don't go after it, right? So that's kind of what I did. And I want to shout out like a couple of people who I then called on specifically, because at that time, or a little bit after, I guess, I found the House of Jordans podcast with Chris, Christina, and Brian, and I was listening to it. And then I somehow linked up with Chris on Instagram, and we were messaging. So I considered him an expert. So I sent him some messages and he kind of helped me a little bit. I met somebody else, I don't even remember how I met them, maybe through a Facebook group, a guy named Jason, and he coached me a little bit. And then a really nice thing happened. Excuse me. I got an unsolicited message on Blowout from a gentleman named Rodman Martinez, who basically said, oh, hey, I saw your post. Welcome to the hobby. If you ever have any questions, let me know. Totally just the nicest guy out of the blue, welcomed me. And, I said, listen, I mean, I'm not new to the hobby. I've been in the hobby for 40 years, but I'm new to this. And I knew enough to go to the guys that know more than I do. And I think that's sort of a tip that I would give anybody is seek out the experts. Today is different than it was 2 years ago. Now you can go on YouTube, watch videos, watch Jake's videos, leave comments, ask questions. He'll reply. You're going to get information from many different places now, many more places today than you did 2 years ago. So, that's my advice on what to do if you're entering into 90s basketball cards, like where Jake is an expert. But if you're entering into any genre, anything else you'd say to any of that, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. Like you said, I've been collecting since I've been 8 years old, but I really hone in on the 90s. If I'm looking at stuff from, let's say, 2008, 2009, I really don't know what I don't know there. So I'll reach out to folks like, Kyle from the Wax Museum. Chris, like you mentioned, is a wealth of knowledge. Josh from Cardboard Chronicles has helped me out with some questions like that with LeBron stuff. So there's a lot of people out there. And, I think that is one of the great things about the hobby is there's a lot of people who are able to help and willing to help. There's a difference between being able and being willing. When those two come together, it's a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of those folks in the hobby.
100%, man, for sure. A lot of people talk about staying in your lane, right? Stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I'm talking about changing lanes here, right? I'm talking about going outside your comfort zone, deciding, you know what, I'm interested in something other than the same thing I've been collecting for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might be. And if you're ever interested in changing lanes or even lane hopping, weaving in and out of different lanes, don't feel bad about it. Do it. If you're interested in something else, you want to expand your collection, do it. There's all sorts of resources of people who will help you change that lane in a safe sort of manner as far as the hobby goes. So you're not going to go buy a card that you think is all that, and it's just not, perhaps. So, okay, that was fun, man. Okay, I want to go back a couple comments here. Back on the last topic, Brett says that comparing Jordan and LeBron is like Gretzky and McDavid, two different eras. Both will always be highly desirable. True. The card companies, and this is interesting, the card companies might dictate things a bit depending on where they create scarcity. That's where things can get interesting. So that's a great point right there, Brett, that, the card companies have a big say in this today because they're manufacturing scarcity right off the printing lines, right? So how are you seeing that play out, Jake, as far as basketball cards go today versus where you're an expert in the 90s? I mean, the 90s, you had scarcity, but now you have scarcity that's like natural because it's already, 25 years ago. How does that compare to the scarcity that's being built into products today?
Yeah, I think it's really different. I did an episode of Wax Museum podcast with Kyle where I had done a little bit of research into some of the parallels that were made really early on this year with Zion. I think we're seeing with Panini, I know somebody was hitting on the parallels. We're seeing kind of like manufactured scarcity, I would say, where you've got a lot of 1 of 1s and 1 of 5s and 1 of 10s and stuff like that. But if you're just looking at, let's say Prism, for example, if you're looking at a Zion Prism card with the picture on it and you've got all these different colors, there's, more versions of that than ever before. Whereas in the 90s, for the most part, you've got 1, maybe 2 parallels of a base card, and then it's inserts, which have very different designs. We've showed some tonight. We've talked about some, so it's really the aesthetics that change significantly with the scarce stuff in the 90s, whereas now the aesthetics stay pretty similar. You're looking at different colors and patterns and stuff like that. So I think that's where the difference lies.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, if you add up all the print runs of all the parallels of the Prisms now, whatever that number adds up to, including the base for that matter, which is unknown, you're now entering territories that are higher than they were back in the 90s. I shouldn't say most likely because I'm not sure, but at least that's something that you'd want to look into or consider. Brett follows up and he says, there's so many options. Don't be afraid of going down a road that maybe isn't the right one for you. It took me a lot of years to find my hobby path. And one thing I want to mention about that, and just in my opinion, is that the hobby it's a fluid sort of thing for us as collectors. Just because you decide you're only collecting Penny Hardaway and Orlando Magic jersey doesn't mean that's all you have to collect. You can break your own rules, budgetary concerns considered, and again, collecting what you like being a big factor. I just want to encourage people, don't be so stuck in your lane thinking it's a bad thing to change lanes. If you think Pokemon is cool, you think it's cool, you think there might be value in the future, don't feel like you can't dabble in it. If you think hockey never mind if you realize that hockey is the most exciting sport in the world, and you realize that the stars of the game are among the most talented athletes out there, and you want to start dabbling in hockey, ask me questions, shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help you out, happy to help integrate you into the hockey genre within the hobby. I'm joking because I'm a hockey guy, but the fact is people are out there to help you. Don't be afraid to try out other sports, even non-sports, if that's what gets you. I've said I'm a cardboard guy. I'm a cardboard guy. I love sports cards. I love cardboard. So if I ever start dipping my toes into non-sport, I won't be surprised at myself for doing that. I can see me doing that. So, but we'll see. Okay, Frankie says some great looking sets with great player list and still a low entry point are the Beam teams as an example. Yeah, the Beam teams are pretty cool, and they have a sort of a parallel version called the members only, I believe, which I don't know the difference, but I see them on eBay all the time. Frankie says also Scoring King sets are also really good. So this is an interesting card, Jake. I'm sorry I'm just doing a lot of talking right now, but let me just say
that's all right.
So when I came in, everybody, I heard people say Scoring Kings. It's the first card you got to get if you're collecting Jordan. I heard Chris McGill say it on the House of Jordans podcast early on. It's like, that's the card that everyone remembers. Well, I'll be honest, I don't remember that card in the 90s, and I was around in the 90s. I just wasn't aware of that particular card. So when I got in, I looked at it, I thought, nah, not for me. I don't get what all the hype is about, is what all the hype is for on this card. And I've only ever seen them on my computer screen or my phone. I've never held one in hand. So to me, it's one of those things where I understand that it's super important in the hobby, but I don't like it. I'm not saying I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. It's just there's nicer cards out there for me. So I'm not going to put my money into that particular card. And that's where collect what you like overruled collect what everyone else likes for me, or collect what the hobby thinks is important. I was like, I don't care if the hobby likes it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to buy something else. Now, in hindsight, that card is like, I could have bought it for $750. Now it's worth $7,000. So I wish I liked it a bit more than I did, but just for that reason. So, all right, keep it on going here. Simon, in reference to the last question, I like Jake's approach and what he does on his channel. He shows all the different insert sets at all the different price points and rarities. See, and that's why Jake is a great resource, because if you watch the videos on his channel, you're gonna get a nice, well-rounded education on 90s basketball cards, and that's what I wanted to bring to the audience of Sports Cards Live. And I realize we've got a lot of Jake's audience here today too, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you, Jake, for bringing them to Sports Cards Live, and I'd appreciate it all even more if you'd subscribe to the channel. But all that said, Jake's channel is a great curriculum of 90s basketball cards. So I encourage everyone to check that out and just do a 90s basketball cards and chill session over there on his YouTube channel. All right. Brett says, the whole process of discovery with those Jordans sounds fun. How much did you enjoy doing the research, Jeremy? Well, Brett, my wife couldn't tear me away from my computer at that time. I was all over. I couldn't wait for people to post, give me advice. I was just, when you look at cards and exactly what you can scroll through on eBay, and you can very quickly catch a card that you're like, oh, I got to see that card. But everything, what you're scrolling through. When I started scrolling 90s basketball Jordan cards, I didn't know what I was looking at. So a couple I did, but in general, I didn't know what I was looking at. I had to learn what all these were. Now when I'm scrolling, I feel like I know what they all are for the most part. You know, it's rare now that a card comes up and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that one before. But that's after 2 years. Simon says, and now Jeremy has a Jordan Jambalaya. I do. I realized that was an important card, and I went after it, and not just important, but I love the damn thing. Like, it's just amazing to look at. I can just do this for an hour with that card. He's jumping right off. Frankie says you always need to have a few lanes for collecting. Keeps things fun. Agreed. In your opinion, Michael, which Kobe cards are affordable investments? Jake, I got to take a break. You take this question.
For sure. So, you know, I actually just did a video on my top 10 Kobe Bryant cards in my collection, and I talked about some of those cards that I think are worthy, if you will, of getting graded. And my definition of worthy of getting graded is very different than other people. But some of those things that I think are affordable, and you know that affordable is different to different people. I love some of the cards from 97, 98. I've actually got one right here, the EX 2001. I think this is a gorgeous set, a great brand. The design is incredible. It's his second year in the NBA. I think it looks better than his rookie card. But obviously his rookie card holds a premium. I think that's a really cool card. 97, 98 Flair Showcase. I love those base cards. Row 3, row 2, row 1. The row 0 gets a little bit more pricey. You know, so 97, 98's got a lot of great stuff. 96, 97 being his rookie year, you get into, you know, some more pricey stuff, but you can still find rookies for pretty affordable prices. You know, his collector's choice rookie is definitely not the most heralded card, but if you want a rookie card and you want one that's affordable, I think that's a cool card. Picture of him when he was almost looked like a baby compared to, you know, some of the pictures of him later in his career. Those are just a few.
There you have it, Michael. Hope that was helpful, and check out Jake's video that he referred to at the beginning there. Okay, so we've got some conversation happening here between, you know, based on the comment that Brett made about McDavid, Gretzky versus LeBron, Jordan, I believe. So I want to go through these because this does get interesting. So Billy says, you know, I'm not sure if McDavid is a fair comparison to LeBron, MJ LeBron versus Gretzky Lemieux. Not sure if the hype would be the same if MJ and LeBron played during the same era like Mario and Wayne did. This goes back and forth, but I want to just first, I like this. Joe says I break my own rules all the time, but I do want to point out this comment here that Simon said. He goes, you know, I agree. I feel the same way about Mike Trout. He hasn't won a thing, but has the highest card ever sold. I don't get it. Okay, fair. A lot of it is built into, you know, potential is worth more than championships, it seems like, in a lot of cases. And that's the case there, I think. And that's what Brett says here. You know, I think that McDavid has a lot of potential GOAT hype built into his prices. LeBron's trajectory seemed higher at the same time, sorry. And Billy says, you know, Trout has all the great stats, but unfortunately, like McDavid signed a long-term deal for an average team. Both of them could use a trade. Yeah, that would help their hobby love, probably, for sure. Okay, Big Daddy Cool, welcome to the show, says, can someone explain why PSA or Beckett doesn't have a headquarters in Canada? They would be up to their eyeballs in submissions for the next 20 years. I can explain that. It's simply doing business internationally is not just a go ahead and do it things. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. Is one of the reasons, if not the reason, at this time. Okay, so you know we've got a lot of new people coming to the hobby over the last several months, especially during the pandemic. Jake, what are some of the things that you think we can do to kind of help retain some of these people who are trying out the hobby for the first time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and we touched on a little bit earlier, is, you know, being a good hobbyist. When people, you know, ask you a question, try to point them in the right direction. You know, if you know the answer, if you know somebody who might know the answer, you know, if I'm on Twitter, for example, and somebody, Darren Ravel, posted something about something that I knew a little bit about, but I knew that Kyle from Wax Museum was the expert, in my opinion, on it. I linked him up. So, you know, Darren Ravel is a bigger profile than somebody, but it doesn't matter the profile of the person. You know, I make a point, if I get a DM, if I get a comment, I respond. And, you know, sometimes I'm getting the same questions, you know, is this 92, 93 card worth anything? But it doesn't matter, because I think that's how we foster and nurture new collectors or collectors that are just coming back, is engaging with them. I think that's the best part about the hobby is, you know, the friendships you develop, and just, it's a great tool to learn. You know, and I think that's the best thing that we can do. You know, there are some people who might not want to be as helpful as other people. But I think, you know, kind of a call to action to all knowledgeable and tenured collectors: help new collectors, you know, learn the ropes, or, you know, point them gently in the right directions if you see them making mistakes. But also just kind of celebrate their wins. You know, sometimes
Mhm.
them picking up a, you know, a, let's say, a card that you might find a little bit more mundane, might be the most exciting thing that they've seen in the hobby. And if we celebrate those wins along with them, they're going to want to, you know, kind of continue their journey. And, you know, if I see a cool looking card, doesn't matter if it's a $5 card or a $500 card, I'm gonna say, hey, cool card, nice grab.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said about celebrate the wins. A lot of the time, you know, you can be scrolling Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and you see you're going by cards that you don't think are that impressive. So you don't double tap them with your thumb to give that collector a like, you know, to give them some affirmation that what they're collecting is, you know, other people appreciate it. I think people, you know, we're social animals, right? We like that kind of feedback. So, you know, take a second and like people's pictures, even if they're cards that, you know, that aren't right up your alley. You know, they could be very important cards to those people. And, you know, it's just the nice thing to do at the end of the day. It doesn't take a lot of extra time. I think that's one thing that I've tried to do more of. And the other thing is, if someone asks you a question, and I've been guilty of this, where you kind of assume that if they're asking this question, well, what are they even doing here? You know, sort of thing. But you really have to, I think, and what I'm trying to do is step back and help people out, help people who are new into the hobby, help them out a bit more than you otherwise would. Don't just slough them off as being, say, a kid or a fly-by-night person or not worth your time. If you have the time, which hopefully you have some extra time, you know, take a second and treat them with respect, I think is really what I'm trying to say here. Treat even the new collectors with respect, because we were all new at one point in our lives. Definitely. So Jake, you know, there's a lot of, actually, hold on. I want to do this comment first that Billy just put up. This is good. He says, it would be interesting to introduce new collectors to cards from various years and get their opinions on aesthetics, etc., but not mention the value and price. Remove the investment angle from new eyes. That would be interesting, just to see what do people like, you know, removing that investment angle. Yeah, that's an interesting type of like the Pepsi challenge type of thing, right? That's an interesting
Right.
sort of experiment to do, because you could take a card that sold for $1 million and a card that sells for $25, put them beside each other and be like, which one do you like better? Chances are you're going to get votes on both of those, and the person who picks the $25 cards and be like, whoa, I had no idea that other card was worth $1 million. But that happens. That happens.
Mhm.
There's thousands of examples of that. There has to be. So, anything
For
to add
sure.
to that at all, Jake?
Yeah, I think you could even do the same thing with graded slabs. I think Gary Vee put something out where he was showing people PSA, BGS, and SGC slabs and asking them, non-collectors, which one they like the look of better. Same card in each of them. And a lot of people gravitated towards the SGC slab. Now, we as hobbyists knows that there's more than just the aesthetics that go behind slabs in the grades. But I think that's, you know, that correlation definitely has parallels across a lot of different things in the hobby. You know, and I sometimes do that eye test with my wife, and I'll ask her, oh, do you think this is a cool looking card? And sometimes she's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know, because a lot of people on the internet might disagree with her, you know, but she's got a different eye because she's not in the hobby.
Yeah, I love that, man. I take all my shipments to my office. That's where I get all my cards mailed. And so I have a buddy at work who will, you know, I'll call him up. I'll be like, Nate, come on up. It's time. So he'll come up to my office and he'll sit with me, and I'll open up my mailers or my ComC shipment or whatever I'm opening up. And I'll pass them to him one at a time. And he doesn't know what's worth what. But he appreciates that I'm into it and he thinks it's cool. And he'll be like, oh man, that's so cool. Like oh man, that's so cool. And I'm like, which one? Which one? He'll be like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a wicked card. And sometimes he'll be like, oh man, that's so cool. I'll be like, really? You like that one? Or I don't like that one. Or it's cool, but well, wait, hold on. These are my cards. Why would I have anything I don't like? I'll be like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not the coolest card in the stack, sort of thing. But it's nice when you can show your cards to a non-hobbyist and see their sort of genuine reaction. I show my wife the cards and she'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. Like she can appreciate these things too. So that's cool. Brett says, interesting approach. It's why I love player collecting. I get excited when I land a 20-cent base card that I need. That is the beauty of player collecting. Hey, Jake, I mean, you're a player collector, Jake. Do you have do you want every 20-cent base card along with every $5,000 rare insert?
I do. Sometimes I want the 20-cent base card more because it'll draw less scowls for my wife.
There you go.
But there was a card that I was after for a while. It was the 99 2000 Flair Tradition Round Ball Collection. It was a retail exclusive parallel that was one in every pack. Not a very rare card. I could not find it for the longest. I finally got it. And that's maybe a $5 card, maybe $10 at the very most. I was very excited once I finally tracked that one down. So it doesn't matter the price sometimes.
And sometimes the longer that card has sat on your want list, the more elusive and important it becomes to you, almost like an obsession, right? Like it might just be a $3 card, but you haven't seen one in 15 years. That makes that card extremely rare, rarer than one of ones, because one of ones that get pulled these days, most of them make it out there into the public domain one way or another, right? Facebook user that I don't know who you are right now. I probably know you. You say, I agree. Every collector has different budgets and interests. Collect what you like and appreciate what others like. I love that last part. Collect what you like and appreciate what others like and respect them for what they like. Very well put. Very well put. Paul says, are there any inserts featured in other sports that aren't in the NBA releases? I find as a hockey fan, it happens a lot. I'm not sure. I don't have anything really off the top of my head that pops in. How about you, Jake? Anything?
Well, actually, I do have something in front of me. So something weird for a 90s basketball card collector, a modern football set that I really gravitated towards the heroes in Donruss this year. So I've got a goal to get the rainbow, so to speak, of Aaron Rodgers because I'm a Packers fan. I think those are really cool looking cards. Kind of got that comic book theme like the Net Marvel's head, but it's also got some holofoil on there. So I got the base, I got the gold, and I got the blue. I'm still trying to get the green, which is number 299. So I think those are fun. I think that there's also I constantly find 90s cards from whether it's hockey, football, or baseball that are really cool designs that are similar to basketball or completely different in some cases that I'm like, ooh, and sometimes I have to kind of catch myself from switching too much because I'm like, I need to stay focused on the stuff that I, want to get in my collection. But, there's so many cool different inserts in all the different sports. It's like, I want to have them all.
I know, man. Like Paul says, it happened in hockey. It happens a lot. And we got lucky in hockey in the early 2010s when Upper Deck put out the Fleer Retro set. And I collect cards from that set pretty heavily. I love a ton of stuff in that product. And, we didn't get our PMG greens and reds until 2012. The difference for the hockey PMGs in 2012 versus the basketball PMGs in 2012 was that hockey was licensed and it's the first time they were licensed, whereas basketball, they were unlicensed. So really the 97s are the more important ones. But I get the question, like you see cards and you want them in your player. You want your player or your sport to offer those cards as well, for sure. Simon says, I buy graded cards from PSA, BGS, and SGC. For me, it's all about which card looks best in each slab, which is a different approach. I prefer more uniformity, even though I've started to go through, to add cards from all three companies into my collection. For a while there, I wanted uniformity. I stuck to one. But I do like this approach. Pick the holder that the card looks best in. Is this something that you've considered doing yourself, Jake?
Yeah, I definitely have. I've sent submissions. I don't grade a lot of cards. Last year, I had my first submission to BGS. This year, I had my first submission to PSA. I've bought cards that have already been graded. And I agree. There are some cards I just really want in a BGS holder. I like the look of BGS holders better. There's some cards that I think it makes more sense for me to have in a PSA holder. I do really like the SGC holders. And I had bid in one on Penny. That was in an SGC holder, and then the seller, lost the card or whatever. So I haven't gotten SGC graded card in my collection yet. I'm still kind of salty about that one.
Okay, man, let's go to one more question here from Billy. He wants to know, what is your favorite 90s pack that you have opened so far?
Oh, I would say 97, 98 finest. I love Flair Showcase. It's hard for me to not say Flair Showcase, but I've had some of my best hits, in some packs from 97, 98 finest.
There you go. There you go, Billy. Bromf says, and this is back to new collectors. If they get interested in the history of the sport, they'll naturally be interested in the players of the past and their contribution to the sport. I think that's that's an astute comment, because we talk about the collector gene, but there's another level of collector, and to me it's the historian. It doesn't take much to be a collector these days. I consider you a full out collector if all you're collecting is 2020 Panini Prism, 2020 Upper Deck Series 1 hockey, 2020 Topps baseball. If you're collecting that, to me, you're a collector. And if that's how you catch the bug and you now have that gene, it awoken the gene within you, you're a full out lifer collector. But the next level is that historian level. Are you now going to really become fascinated with a sport, with a hobby, go back in time and seek out the pioneers and everybody that laid the groundwork for the sport as it exists today? That's when you, I don't know what you call that other than, that next level of collector. And that's something I just kind of thought of right now. Does that, and I ask for feedback, does that make sense, or am I kind of missing something there?
That definitely resonates with me. I think there's all different kinds of avenues to collect, but when you really get past that entry level, and you really start to just when you start dreaming about cards, that's when you've been bit completely by the bug.
No doubt. What does it mean then, Jake, when you think about cards every minute you're awake? What's that called?
I think we're obsessed.
Yeah, obsessed like me. For sure. Joe says, curious what Jake thinks about the early Fleer issues, 86, 87, and what he makes of their recent uptick. What can you say about that, Jake, being a 90s
guy? I love them. 86, 87 Fleer basketball, absolutely all-time iconic set, primarily because of the Jordan, but it's the first year that Fleer, who, has had some of those cards that we can't get enough of in the 90s, the first set that they had. But I actually, as a kid, wanted to collect the 88, 89 set because there were a lot of rookies of players that I liked, Horace Grant, Muggsy Bogues, some of those guys that not Hall of Famers, but guys I liked growing up. I like a lot of those cards from the olden days, if you will. Now, if we look at it, because it's just a different genre. It's just, a different era. The card stock feels different. Centering issues were prevalent. So you're looking at very different stuff that makes those cards neat, unique, cool. Miscuts. Some of those miscuts that I've seen on some of those 88, 89 stuff are just comical. You've got half of one card on one side and half of another one on another one. I think those are the things that make them cool, unique, and also kind of to what we were just talking about, the history of it. I love looking at, a player like Alex English and flipping it over and seeing his stats and then learning more about how great of a player he was. That's one of the things that I did as a kid, and that's how I learned about a lot of these, greats that I never had a chance to watch. I got a card of Wes Unseld, and looking at the card, I was like, this guy doesn't look like he could play. And I learned about him. I go, oh, wow, that guy was a player. That guy was a real good player. That's the thing that I love about those older cards, because you learn about different players that you didn't have a chance to watch.
It's funny. You mentioned some players that are in that 88, 89 Fleer set, and you didn't even mention Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Chris Mullin, John Stockton. We're talking legendary Hall of Famers there. Right. Like that was a stacked set. Really, the only set that you got the 86 set, which speaks to itself, chock filled with Hall of Fame rookies. You got the 87 set, which really doesn't have any rookies. I think in the day, the Brad Dougherty card, or Dougherty, whatever his name was, that was like the best card in that set. Thankfully, now you got second year cards of everybody from 86. But then the 88 set, again, a great set with a lot of wonderful Hall of Fame rookie cards in there. So, and then you got into the following year, which I think was like Kevin Johnson's rookie year. He was the big ticket that would have been the 89-90, I guess. And but again, that's kind of faded from popularity nowadays.
Yep.
But Joe does have this follow-up question. So do you think they'll continue to rise at the same rate, or are those sets just a little, and I like this, susceptible to collector boredom, notwithstanding the Jordan cards within? But I like how he says the collector boredom, and I think that's what, people are scared about right now, considering all the love going to base cards and commodity cards that are just out there, easy to get any day you want them. What do you think about this follow-up question, Jake?
Yeah, I think that's really a good question. If you're looking at something to retain the value, I think that's where the pop reports on those 80s cards come in, really important. A lot of those cards, if you're looking at 87, 88 Fleer Jordan, a PSA 10 of that card, I don't know the pop count offhand, but it's not high, relatively speaking. I think that those cards that are in good shape, because the card stock was not as sturdy, because the printing techniques were not the same, so centering was an issue. You got print dots on the surface. The condition on those out of pack was not always great. Sometimes you get a whole pack that's just like duds for condition. I think that the highly good condition cards of those are the ones that kind of will stand the test of time beyond boredom. The raw ones definitely are very susceptible to that, I think.
Fair enough, man. Simon here says, cards are the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about at night, which I hear you on that. Brett says, I check Twitter, I check Instagram, I check eBay. Rare does an hour go by that I don't scroll. Yeah, I'm with you. For me, it's more like rare does a, 90-second period go by that I'm not scrolling something. Simon here is, what are some of Jake's thoughts on the Star basketball sets, in particular Star 84 Jordan XRC? True rookie or not true rookie, Jake?
I defer to some of my Jordan expert friends. I actually asked that episode, that Frankie was with me. I asked him, and I think that people like him and people like Chris that we've talked about are the people that really are deep in Jordan. A lot of those guys consider the XRC to be a true rookie, and so I go with what they think. I think that that's definitely, if you're a Jordan collector, that's a must-have.
Sure. I'm going to jump in on that, if you don't mind, Simon and Jake. I believe the 86 Fleer is the rookie card. To me, the Star card is an XRC, and that's been defined by Beckett for 35, 40 years already. And the reason for that, to me, true rookie hands down, says Frankie. And I know, I listened to that. By the way, that episode you did with Frankie is one of my favorite episodes hobby content episodes I've consumed in the last while. And one of my favorite things that came out of there, we talked about this, Jake, I hope you don't mind if I kind of run with it now, but one of the favorite things that came out of that episode was you guys were talking about, and we'll get to this, if we have time, we'll get this a bit more, but the collector investor spectrum, that scale of where you fall. And Frankie said, I became an investor by consequence. And that is exactly what's happened to so many of us collectors who have, been in the hobby for, however long, 10, 20, 30 years. And all of a sudden these cards we have are worth money. That happened to me in 1988 when the first Beckett came out. And all of a sudden my cards had monetary values attached to them. I felt like, whoa, the light went off that day. I vividly remember flipping through Beckett that day and thinking, wow, these cards are valuable. These cards are worth money, and back then when you're a mid-teenager, money's, not that easy to come by. So that was interesting. But now, you look at it now, and the term investor as it applies to us is truly, it truly does make sense. But anyway, I just wanted to say we have become investors by consequence if you hold cards of value that you just have. But, we're also collectors for sure. But he says the true rookie hands down. To me, it was issued in team sets at arenas. It wasn't a hobby or a retail product. It wasn't something that was massively distributed across the whole United States. You had to be at the right place at the right time to get it. So for those reasons, to me, it's not a true rookie card. However, I think it's as close to a rookie card as you can get without being one now, because of the way the hobby is responding to it. And the way that someone like Frankie feels is actually quite influential, and in my opinion, quite important to how the hobby should view it. When the guys who are, in it more than most people, if they feel that way, they're more qualified than say the people at Beckett were 35 years ago to make that call. I would argue. So it's an interesting topic. I've heard a lot of discussion about it. I do enjoy it, and we can certainly have our differing opinions on it, and still all get along. That's for sure. Okay, what does Michael say? I noticed the PSA pop report of an unopened 86 Fleer pack with the Jordan sticker showing is 16. How many do you think are actually still out there, removed and from the casing and opened, are not removed? I'm going to say 143. Jake, you want to take a guess? I mean,
222.
There we go. Impossible to answer, Michael, but really a good discussion point. That's for sure. Okay. We've talked a bit about, Gary Vee has come up a bit. I do want to touch quickly, Jake, on social media influencers and the mainstream attention that the hobby has been getting lately. We've seen Gary Vee. We got Kendrick Perkins showing his cards on Instagram. And of course, what did LeBron James just say the other day?
Yeah, so LeBron, for those who missed it, said that he owns 2 copies of the card, his rookie card, his RPA, that just sold for $1.8 million.
So even LeBron James is collecting his own cards, and he went on to, I think he went on to say something like, "Yeah, I got 2 of my rookie cards. I'll be fine no matter what," as meaning that he could always sell them if he needed the cash. LeBron, come on, who are you kidding? You don't need the cash. 1.8 doesn't make a dent for you, right? But still, it was funny to hear that. It was cool to hear that, right? That players are becoming more and more aware of them. And what are your thoughts, Jake, on the health of the hobby in the context of all this attention it's getting from social media influencers? Gary Vee is the poster boy for it, for better or for worse. What are your thoughts on that? Is that kind of attention good for the hobby, or does it scare you at all?
I get really excited whenever I see somebody with, a blue check next to their name showing off cards. I think it's a great thing for the hobby. I know, I've seen Lamine James have quite a few memes kind of clowning on Kendrick Perkins because he said if it doesn't have that PSA stamp, it's not legit. And we've talked about other grading companies that are absolutely legit. So I think that Gary Vee talks about you've got to educate yourself before you dive into the hobby. Seeing Adam Lefko join in, it's a lot of fun seeing what he's into. I think it's great, and I think it's only going to help the hobby kind of gain more momentum. And I think it was on one of the Cardboard Chronicles episodes that the guest had said they look forward to the day that our wives don't kind of laugh at us for what we collect. So I think that the more of those established names get into it, the less that they giggle when we get a new card.
Yeah, no.
What do you think?
Fair enough, man. Yeah, makes sense to me. Some more talk about the Jordan rookie card, and basically, Topps wasn't making basketball cards from, I think it's 81 through through the 80s. Actually, Fleer didn't come around till 86, so there were no basketball cards for 82, 3, 4, and 5. So that's pretty much why his rookie card appears in 86. And as Frankie kind of clarifies, dealers could order team sets directly from Star at that time. I do believe they're also issued in basketball at the basketball games at the stadiums as well, is my understanding.
That's
I could be wrong on that. Yeah. Yes, it was. Yep. Okay. So I'm tossing up between talking about your origin story or your collecting goal, because we're kind of getting to that point where we got to start to think about the coming to an end here. And let's talk about your collecting goal. You've been in this hobby a long time. You're a seasoned collector. What is your goal overall? What's your big goal in the hobby right now for you and within your collection?
Yeah, so my ultimate goal, we talked about I'm a completionist when it comes to Penny. I want one copy of every Penny Hardaway card, but beyond just Penny Hardaway, I want a copy of every insert card from the 90s. We're talking about the licensed brands, Upper Deck, Topps, Fleer, Skybox. So if in those insert sets there's a Penny, I want to get the Penny. If there's not, I've got some side PC guys, Iverson and KG. I like to get theirs. Sometimes none of those guys are in there. And I'll look for another guy, maybe Michael Finley, maybe Antonio McDyess, another guy that I'm interested in or that's just affordable. If I'm looking to get a PMG green at some point, I don't know if I will be ever able to afford a Jordan. So that's probably out of the cards. I might need to get, Bryant Reeves. Who knows? But that's a goal that I think will keep me collecting for a very long time. I think the one thing that's kind of outside of that is one of ones. Maybe I'll get some of those masterpieces or somewhat of those in my collection, but that's definitely not something that I really hone in on, just because they're so rare and they're so difficult to get.
I really love the the goal of kind of putting together somewhat of a museum of 90s inserts, because the reason I think that's important, Jake, is because now you really do have the reference book on 90s inserts. If you get to that point where you have at least one card from each insert set, I mean, I called you the go-to guy on the what is what. Well, I mean, that's going to really solidify that, because and to go along with that, it would be cool if you have the information on the pack odds on all those cards too. That's a real interesting piece of information that could go, really important. A lot of people are going to want to know that. People coming to the hobby, it's like, what were the odds of pulling this card? Now you got to start searching the internet for that. There's some good threads on Blowout that cover all that stuff. I've seen it in the basketball forum there, which is pretty awesome. But to be able to pair that with a copy of the card so you actually know what it is you're looking at, that's pretty cool. Brett says, completionist nice. Do you have a master want list, or do you know how many penny cards are out there? And to add on, do you know how many penny cards are out there, but do you know how many different insert sets were created in the 90s?
Off the top of my head, on the top of my head, I don't know the exact number. The reference point that I use is Trading Card DB. So you can go in there, you can look at a certain player, and they'll give you a list. They do include, oddball sets and, stuff that's unlicensed and stuff like that. But I go through there a lot. I use that as kind of my checklist. I, at one point, tried to kind of get an all-encompassing spreadsheet together. It was just a daunting task for me to try to do. With two kids, it's time is at a premium. So if I can spend time looking at for new cards or, figuring out what new card I want, I'm not as good as I would like to be at looking at a card and saying, oh, I definitely got that, because I can't tell you how many times my brother says, you just got a copy of this card. Why do you have another one? It's like, yeah, I forgot, and I got a second copy, and he'll laugh at me. So, yeah.
I was just saying, let's talk about doubles management, as I was calling it. We sometimes, some people collect more than one copy of a card. Some people pick up a second copy by accident. When you collect, I know a lot of people will say they collect, Penny Hardaway, but they also collect 1997 Fleer Metal Universe. So can you have one Penny Hardaway base card, or would you need one for your Penny Hardaway collection and a second copy for your set collection?
Yeah, I'm content with just having one copy. In my prioritization of my collection, my Penny Hardaway collection reigns supreme. So if I get a copy of a Penny Hardaway card, it goes in the Penny collection. And then if I get a copy that's not the Penny Hardaway and not one that either has a Penny counterpoint or that I don't have yet, that goes in the insert collection, if you will. So that's kind of how I delineate now, to the point of me having other players. There are plenty of times that I say, I got the Penny, and now, the Iverson looks nice too, and now I want the Iverson too. And then it's like, okay, well, do I talk myself off the ledge, or do I kind of give into that urge? I give into the urge more often than I'd like sometimes.
It's always nice to pair up a card with another card, right? Especially if you have another player that you can reasonably love having in your collection. So it's got to be tough too, especially with a goal like yours, because you're looking at allocating your hobby budget. It's like, do I buy an Allen Iverson card because it'll go nice with the Penny, or do I buy that Penny card from that other set first because I got to get the Penny cards? I got to put more dents in, strike more cards off that list. So it's a interesting way. We all approach these things differently, and that's kind of what keeps it fun. What do you think about hoarding? And I'm not talking about hoarding Luca Prisms or Zions. I'm talking about hoarding like older, rarer cards. Are you aware of a lot of people doing that? And what are your thoughts in general on that?
Yeah, I know it definitely happens, and it happens for different reasons. It's not something that I want to do. Sometimes I accidentally do it.
Mhm.
But I have like a group chat with a bunch of other penny collectors, and I'm in a Facebook group with penny collectors. And actually, one of my goals before the national this year, which didn't end up taking place, was I was going through my penny collection, grabbing a bunch of those doubles that I had, and I was going to do a little sale because I'd like to give them to another penny collector that might, whatever their goals are, might not have that card yet or might want another copy or whatever the case may be. In a lot of cards when I was a kid, I didn't protect as well as I wish I had. So they've got dinged up corners and all that kind of stuff. So I usually will keep that card, but I want one that's in relatively decent shape. I'm primarily a raw collector. So in that sense, I don't mind having 2 or 3 copies of a card. As soon as it gets over 2 or 3, though, I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
That's just me. I mean, there are some people that if there's a card that you love, let's say the Fleer Metal universe of your favorite player, let's say Dennis Rodman. If you love that card and you want to have, one of those 9 card sheets full of them, knock yourself out. I can't fault you for it. I like seeing cards in the hands of more collectors. Sometimes if it's a rare card, it's like, oh geez, 10 other collectors could really enjoy, those 10 cards. But who am I to tell people how to collect and what to do with their cards?
I hear you, man.
What do
I
you
hear
think?
you. No, makes sense to me. And I was just interested in the perspective in your perspective on that, because you see so many hoards on Instagram and Facebook, people showing their stacks of the same card, or kind of doing a fan out, and it's like a dozen of the same thing, whether it's modern or older cards. It definitely happens. But like you said, the detriment to it, the thing about it that isn't cool, I guess, is that it just keeps those out of other people's hands. And a lot of people will go, like, if there's 5 copies of a card made, some people will try and chase down all 5 of those. But now the person who's working on that set can't get that one card, and it's sort of a bit of the gamesmanship that happens, or the gamification of the hobby that's kind of not written or formalized really, but it does occur. Let's have a look at some more comments here, guys. And I want to thank Frankie for putting out putting out some information on what the Jordan rookies are, the various different Jordan pre-rookies, I guess, or cards that some consider rookies. Like Michael says, the 85 Nike Jordan promo has become popular lately. I heard it called his rookie promo. I've never heard such a thing as a rookie promo. And then, here we go. He says, well, pre-86 Fleer cards are considered rookies, or the ones that are considered rookies are the Nike, the Interlake Jewel sticker, to name a few. All of these are alternate release cards. And the Jewel sticker, that's a crazy looking card. I think it's an awesome looking card. Even, once you get past that's a weird looking card, it's pretty awesome. The Nike card, and it's kind of an oversized card, bit of a tall boy sort of card, or at least shaped like that, but maybe not actually that much bigger. But the Nike card, that to me is not even a card. It's like a postcard. It's not even the right dimension. So to me, I don't like it at all. But that's just me. Again, that's what makes us all different. But Frankie says they're all considered part of the rookie card list. And that's kind of a new list, I think. I think it's a new list, because I think for the longest time, people accepted that the 86 Fleer was the rookie. And now we're seeing, among other definitions in the hobby, starting to crumble or starting to kind of evolve. This is one of them specifically as well that is changing as time goes by. So that's cool. Brian, welcome to the show. You're a little late tonight, but great to have you. To my favorite YouTube 90s Bball guys, thank you so much. Great to have you. Simon says, new collectors should invest in buying an older Beckett Plus from the late 80s, early 2000s. They list all the inserts, what series they were in, and the pack odds as well with pictures. So basically a printed version of what Jake is building himself. Brett says, one for each collection, no sharesies. Yeah. The set says to the player collection, you can't have my card. No way. No way. Frankie says, mostly for MJ collectors who delve a bit deeper, the Fleer remains the most iconic card in the hobby. I completely agree with that. The most iconic card in the whole hobby: baseball, basketball, hockey, football, anything. That Michael Jordan rookie card is, to me, the most iconic of all. More than the 52 Topps mantle, more than the T209 Honus Wagner, the Wayne Gretzky rookie, more than the Tom Brady, more than anything like that. Agree, 100%. Okay, I like this. Joe says doubles management is totally a thing. I sometimes find myself buying a second copy because I find it at a better price. Dollar cost average down, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's tempting to do, right? It for sure is.
Sure.
Paul Cashman says, aren't the 4 Jordan PMGs greens that PSA just graded owned by the same owner? And yes, they are. That's pretty much been confirmed. I agree, Jake. Hoarding is a side effect of collecting. Most times it happens by accident, especially if you open wax. Definitely can be for sure. Name says, I have a hoard of Reggie Leach rookie cards. I have 7. Picked them up at card shows through trades. Also a few Young Gun hordes. Not limited, so don't be mean. No, if you're hoarding a card that is, that is a dollar card, I mean, by all means, do it. There's, why not? Because it's not going to hurt anybody. That's for sure. Ayo Rhino, welcome to the show. What is up? We are coming up on an hour 45 here, and we got about 15 minutes left to wind down. So we're going to rush through these last comments here, but thank you for joining. You say 90s inserts. I love the Flair Wave of the Futures. Jake, are those good cards?
So that's an interesting set because those are really cool cards. The checklist on that is lackluster, to say the least. Those are from 97, 98, so they could have a good checklist. They were all rookies, but they didn't have any of the top rookies. So no Duncan, no Keith Van Horn. I think the best player you can debate is either God Sham God or maybe Austin Crozier. So really cool looking cards, but not the star power.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad when that happens, right? You got beautiful, beautiful cards, but players that, many people just don't want.
Yep.
Absolute. Mike says, great show. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this great hobby content channel. Mike, thanks a lot, man. I always appreciate when you post that up there. Thank you so much. Appreciate the compliment. And I do appreciate everybody hitting the thumbs up, subscribing to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. And again, I want to let everybody know if you're new to the channel, and thanks again to Jake for Abdic. I do appreciate that, bringing people here to watch you. And then as a consequence, they get to watch me. And if you do like this, please do subscribe. And I recognize my episodes, the episodes of Sports Cards Live, they're long. They're like 2 hours minimum. But you can put them on the background. You can watch them in 15, 20-minute chunks here and there. YouTube does remember where you left off, and pick the ones you like. We got a great library of episodes in the archives on YouTube. This is episode number 51. And I've had, along with Jake, 50 other great guests. So do check them out if you can make the time. And I know our time is all limited, and how many minutes and hours can you spend consuming hobby content? But if you want to spend 20 minutes a day on this channel, greatly appreciate it. Okay. With that, Jake, I do want to talk about serial numbers in basketball cards. Cause again, I'm a hockey guy, first and foremost, basketball guy second. I know how it kind of works in hockey. Can you just give us a rundown on how important are serial numbers to basketball collectors, and specifically special serial numbers within a run?
Yeah, I think that especially for the 90s, serial numbered cards reign supreme, and there are definitely some that are more sought after than others. And I always think of 3, and in some cases, it ends up being 2. Like Penny, you've got the first, so number 1 out of whatever the print run is, and then you get the last, so let's say it's out of 100, the 100 out of 100, and then you got the jersey numbered, are kind of the 3 big ones. And I think the jersey numbered one definitely holds the biggest premium. And like I said, for Penny, he wears number 1, so that culminates with both the jersey number and the first print run. So when the 1 of whatever it may be pops up for Penny, the collectors go crazy for those. And I have bought, there's actually a row 0 Flair showcase of Horace Grant that I bought specifically because it's number 1000 out of 1000. And I thought that was just really cool. Yeah, so I love getting cards that are close to or at the end of the print run or the beginning of the print run. Jersey number, I usually just can't get because they're, once they get bought by a player collector, they're locked away. But those are the 3 serial numbers that every 90s collector really wants in their collection. So those reign supreme for sure for 90s collectors.
Would you say that I'm trying to make a comparison in my head between serial numbered cards and cards with like patches on them and memorabilia. Like, is it more important to have a cool serial number in basketball than it is, say, a mem swatch with, say, 2 or 3 colors, or is this not even comparable?
Yeah, so I mean, in the 90s, there are not many multicolored patches. Upper Deck, when they started jersey cards in '97, didn't actually put thought to making specific patches. They didn't realize that that was going to be something collectors would seek out. So when you do find those, they definitely hold a premium for those jersey swatches, but they aren't easy to find, and it's really hard to know how many there are, and how many colors and what the best one is. It's you kind of just have to wait till they pop. A lot of pennies, because there's pinstripes in the Magic jersey, have 2 colors, which is nice. So you've at least got that baseline. It wasn't really until, I think, 99 2000s when they first really started to set aside the patch cards, make lower serial numbers on those and make those more exclusive, because they recognized that collectors like them. But there were a couple years, and for the majority of the 90s, you didn't have jersey cards at all. So that's why people gravitated towards the serial number cards. You definitely have some collectors, though, because they are so hard to find, that when they can find somebody who has those, they will do everything they can to get those multicolored patches. But it's just it wasn't as prevalent in the 90s as now. It's a lot easier to find jersey cards, and trying to get an upgraded patch is definitely something that people like to do now, but not then.
Yeah, no, I have, in hockey, we have a brand called SP Authentic, and it's where one of the best rookie cards comes out each year. It's hard signed autograph, serial and numbered, out of $9.99. I always am much more impressed when you find a like a jersey numbered card from a print run of 999 versus a print run of, say, 100 or 50 or something like that, right? Those are, to me, like, if you can find the jersey numbered SP Authentic rookie card, that's a pretty impressive type of card with a really cool serial number. In hockey, I player collect Dale Hawerchuk. He's a Hall of Famer, just passed away last month or the month before, and he's number 10. So jersey numbered cards of his are like how many products come out where there's 10 copies? Like, lots, right? So
Yep.
you have a 10% chance of hitting the jersey numbered card there, which is kind of funny, but it causes me to chase a lot of jersey numbered cards of his, where if he were number 47, it would be a lot easier to collect, right? Just a little intricacy of my collecting. Okay, we're going to run through some comments, and we're going to do card of the day, Jake. So first of all, Facebook user whose name I can't tell says, I have to agree the 86 Fleer is a true rookie card because it was pack pulled. The star is and will continue to be considered as the XRC. So first of all, pack pulled, to me, a very important feature of a rookie card. So I agree with that. The second part though says is and will continue to be considered. That I'm not so sure about, because things do evolve, including definitions in the hobby. So I'm not saying it's going to change, but you get enough people with enough influence to start to believe otherwise, and the generally accepted definition could change for that. But we'll just leave that at that for now. Simon says, I'm strictly a basketball collector, but I never miss an episode of your show, Jeremy. I just love the hobby and good content. Thanks, Simon, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. For me, only game-worn memorabilia has any value, like on-card autos. So what he's saying is he likes an on-card auto versus a sticker auto. He likes game-worn memorabilia better than photo shoot, which makes good sense to me. Oh, it's Rodman. That's who it is. Rodman. All right. I wish I knew that was you, buddy. Rodman was like the guy I talked about earlier who sent me an unsolicited message on Blowout saying, welcome to the world of basketball cards, Jeremy. And we've been pals ever since. We met at the National. Very awesome. Thank you, Rodman. Great to have you here as well. Okay, Jake, we're going to do card of the day. And for card of the day, I do need to make everybody laugh at me by putting on an overlay that says PC card of the day. So my card of the day. So I do like my card of the day to tie into my guest of the evening. And I was going to go with one card. Jake, I don't have any penny cards, so I couldn't show a penny card, unfortunately. But Jake also collects a little bit of Vince Carter. And I have a couple of Vince Carter cards in my collection, 2. to be exact. And I showed one of them the other day because it just came in the mail last week. So I showed it last Saturday night on my after hours show, which will be coming on tonight in 37 minutes. Carlos will be joining me, a brand new broadcast. So you'll have to go back to the YouTube channel to join us for that. But I am going to show a card that I bought back in November of 2019. And I bought it because, you know, it's what I think is Vince Carter's probably one of his best rookie cards in terms of it's somewhat rare, but it's also very heavily collected. And it's his 1998 Topps Chrome Refractor. And it's just like we were talking about it before, Jake and I, the picture is so Vince Carter. Like he's just going in on a reverse dunk. Like that is just a classic picture. And the refractor is just, it's a beautiful card. It's in a PSA 10 holder. And I picked it up, you know, at probably 0.1x of what it's selling for now. We never hear the 0.1x. It's always 10x this, 5x that. Probably picked it up for 0.1x of what it's going for now. So I'm very happy to have this card. Happy I got into it when I did. But, you know, I'm in Canada. I'm a Raptors fan. I've been a Raptors fan for, I'm not going to say like, oh, I've been a Raptors fan my whole life or since they came around, because they're the team I've cheered for being Canadian, but I haven't paid that much attention to them until the last few years, to be honest. But Vince Carter was, you know, the greatest Raptor of all time. And he challenged Michael Jordan quite a bit. So I got a lot of respect for this guy and what he could do. So great to have that card. That is my PC card of the day for Sports Cards Live, episode number 51. And with that, Jake, we are now going to switch over to Sports Cards Live 5. I got 5 questions for you. It's not necessarily a speed round, but we got about 5 minutes for this. So question number 1, Jake, what is the favorite card in your personal collection and can you show it?
Yes. So yes to both. So I have to show 2 cards to show the one. So the favorite card of mine is the 93 PSA 9 that I have. It doesn't matter the grade. Finest Refractor rookie of Penny. So trying to get that without the glare on there. There we go. So that's my favorite card. This is one that my brother actually got me, you know, partially as a gift and partially as a trade, because this was one that I was searching for as a kid, you know, my entire life, it felt like. And the reason why I wanted to get it, and I specifically wanted it in a PSA 9, is the first ever graded rookie card, or actually the second graded card that I ever got was a Christmas gift from my dad, which is the base. It was a PSA 9. This was, you can probably see on the back, this is one of the early PSA slabs. I will never take it out of here. So this card holds a special place in my heart because it was a gift from my dad, and because, you know, grading cards back in the 90s was something that you very rarely, if ever, saw. So getting that from my dad, having that memory, and then getting the refractor from my brother later on to kind of pair those two together is why that's my favorite card.
Great cards, man. Great cards. And I'm showing you a little. The screen was a little blurry for me when you showed it. Was that the card that I put on the thumbnail for this episode?
Yep,
yeah,
that's it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Great card. Question number 2: what is your highest priority want card that is actually attainable for you?
So that's tricky. So I think I would have to go with the 98-99 StarQuest Gold, or the 4-star, which is numbered to 100. And attainable, they don't come up often because there's only 100 of them. I was offered one recently that was pretty badly damaged, and trying to come up with a price on those is very difficult because they don't sell often. And then, you know, you want one that's not terrible shape. You know, so I could probably attain that through a trade. I don't like throwing a lot of cash down on a card, but I definitely have some trade ammo, and that's a set that I ripped tons of packs with my dad, and we never pulled a gold. And I've always wanted a gold, and getting a penny would be that much more sweet.
Very cool. Question number 3: where is your favorite place, or what is your favorite place to buy cards?
Yeah, so my favorite place, in all honesty, is going through a dollar bin. Whether it's at a card show or at a hobby shop, I love going through a little dollar bin and finding some sort of a hidden gem. You know, I love the stories when I see somebody that goes through a dollar bin and finds, you know, that rare card, whether it's a good player or something for their PC. And I just love treasure hunting. So that's my favorite. And, you know, when I can get back out to some card shows, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome, man. I love that answer. That's great. And you're looking for some hard to find cards, and that's where they might be, right? So you got to search high and low for them.
Yep.
Question 4 is, if you could change one thing about the hobby, Jake, what would it be?
Um, make it so I can get wax for free to open on my channel. No, but definitely, more attainable wax. I love ripping it. I think that's fun. I also think that that's the way that we can attract, new or young kids to the hobby at some point. So that's the one thing that I wish we could kind of keep the wax prices reasonable.
Great answer there. And the last question, what's your biggest hobby purchase, sale, or regret? Sorry, your favorite hobby purchase or sale regret?
Yeah. And so I would say my biggest, and it's a regret on some levels, but it's a happy story on other levels. So I recently had shared my best pack pulls. So one of my best pack pulls last year, if not my best ever, was an optic rookie of Luca. That was the pink retail exclusive. That was numbered to 25. So I ended up moving that. I didn't think that Luca cards would go up significantly during his second season. I was very wrong on that. So that card is, probably 10x probably isn't even enough. So that one I moved. I got some great cards in my collection. I'm not mad. And the guy who got it is a big Luca collector, and that's going to be tucked away in his collection forever. So it's happy on that sense. But it would have been nice to have been right on holding that card.
For sure, man. For sure. Okay, well, that's great. Now we are past the 2-hour mark, so we're now officially into overtime on Sports Cards Live, and we're going to wrap things up pretty quick here. We're going to go through the last of the comments. I want to remind everybody I'm coming back in half an hour with Carlos from the hit YouTube series Because I'm Carlos. We will be on my after hours show, and we go for about an hour, and it's just a nice, relaxing conversation. We will debrief a little bit of this episode with Jake, talk about kind of our favorite things that came out of this, among other things. So check it out if you are still awake, wherever you may be. Here we go. I want to say, Michael says, I liked Upper Deck jersey cards better because on the back, they told if the mem was shorts, shooting shirt, or jersey. Panini just says player worn. I think all the companies have gotten a lot more vague in recent years with what's embedded within their cards. Frankie says, that's an awesome overlay. I think that was for the card of the day. Thanks, Frankie. I made these overlays all by myself, guys, and I had a bunch of fun doing them. And it was a couple of late nights because you'd make it, you'd put it on, you'd see it was too high, too low. Took me a few tries on each of these, but I think we got them going. Ayo, that's my favorite Vince Carter card. Yeah, I love it too, man. It's awesome. Frankie, great Air Canada card. Thank you so much. Carter in a dunk pose as a Raptor go hand in hand, no doubt. Thank you, name. Much appreciated. Wow, Jake, Penny was one of my favorite players growing up. He was so smooth, talented, and athletic. I copied a lot of his moves. I can just see you out there, name, pound, hitting the rim with the balls. Oh boy. Paul Cashman says, I like hearing the dollar bin. Definitely collect what you like, and refreshing versus hearing about multiples for sure. Simon says, Chris from House of Jordans bought the Luca. That's okay. We know who bought the Luca from you. Great show, guys. Thank you, Frankie. Mike, see you Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate having you here. Simon, great to have you here tonight. All right, man. Jake, I mean, we've been through a lot tonight. We covered a lot of topics. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we call it a night?
I think we hit on everything. This was a lot of fun for me. I really appreciated getting the chance to come on and chat with you and share some of these stories. I love sharing stories and sharing cards. It's the fun part of the hobby for me.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's nice to have you. And I mean, for you who runs your own channel, you do lives here and there. I hope it's kind of nice and relaxing to be on the other side and kind of let me run the show, and you can kind of, jump in and just speak your piece, not worry about producing anything, right? Just what was it more relaxing for you than usual?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice not to have to hit record and do all the editing and all the work. I mean, I know Jordan talked about this, and I definitely want to hammer it home. You definitely do the most prep and research, and what you do on this channel is nothing short of a labor of love. I really appreciate not only being able to be a part of it, but being able to watch the information that you have shared with us, through having some incredible people in the hobby, the value that you bring to the hobby, I really appreciate. Thank you.
I appreciate that a ton, man. And thank you for saying it. I do appreciate it. And it's comments like that really do keep me going and wanting to continue what I've been, this project that was born out of the pandemic and turned into what it is completely organically. I did not plan for it to turn into this show or to last this long. So thanks. I appreciate you. I appreciate you appreciating it. And I'll keep going. So we will wrap up with the final comments that are rolling in, and then we will turn this off. Jake, I'll ask you to stay there. And then everybody, I will be back with Carlos in 26 minutes. So Brian says, thanks, Jake. Keep ripping. Paul, great show. Thank you, Jake. Brett, great show. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for your participation tonight. Brom says, thanks, guys. Great chat. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Brom. Thank you for showing up again. Carlos, who will be joining me shortly. Thanks for coming on, Jake. Great show. Thank you, Carlos. Michael Webb, I have enjoyed this. I've just subscribed. I do appreciate that, Michael. Thank you so much. I hope you tune in again. Terry, thanks, guys. I love the collector shows. I know you do, Terry, and I'm really enjoying them myself. They're a lot of fun to do, to bring on these. I was calling them collectors' perspectives at the beginning of when I started doing this, and versus industry insider episodes. Now I'm just kind of naming who the guest is, and we're talking about all sorts of things. But thank you, Terry, Joe, Jeremy. We need to get you a little penny. I don't have a penny collection, but I probably should have one. It would really commemorate episode 51 for me. Definitely. Simon says, couldn't agree more, Terry. I love you guys. I see. Eric, thanks, guys. See you on After Hours. We will see you there. Brian says, no doubt Sports Cards Live is the smartest card show on YouTube. Wow, thank you so much, guys. All right, that's the end of the comments. If any more roll in after this, I apologize for not addressing them on the show. But everybody, I want to say thank you again for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your loyal viewership. Thank you to Jake for joining me. You were a great guest. And Jake, thank you for sharing that you were coming on with your audience. I know you have a big one, and I do appreciate that. And hope that some people from here that are, my subscribers found you. I'm going to run your information again. There it is, guys. Follow Jake on Instagram at 90s _ Bball _ cards. And his YouTube channel is called 90s Bball cards. Right on the YouTube thumbnail. You can reference that again. So that's it. Jake, thank you one more time. And everybody else, good night. We'll see you shortly on After Hours.